What's going on, guys? Seth here for TLG Reacts, doing a reaction to the game completion time of Dying Light 2. Now, I'm sure you've already heard about this, and you might have heard the correction that has come out from Techland themselves, but it has come out that Dying Light 2 takes 500 hours to complete fully. A lot of people heard this, a lot of people went crazy over it, and they came out and put some details into what that actually means. But at face value, it seems as though you're going to need 500 hours to beat this game, and who the hell has 500 hours to put into anything? I sure as fuck don't. You tell me a game's 500 hours, I'm going to go, yeah, maybe I'll play something else. I don't know. Who am I kidding? I probably would play it anyway for like 20 hours and then just kind of hop out anyway. But yeah, let's talk about it. So a couple days ago, via the Dying Light Twitter account, they put out a post that said to fully complete Dying Light 2 Stay Human, you'll need at least 500 hours. At least 500 hours. So not even just 500 hours, at least 500 hours. Almost as long as it would take to walk from Warsaw to Madrid. They're very excited about that. They got a picture here. The picture shows this Dying Light 2 landscape, and it says 500 hours to complete the game, 534 hours to walk from Warsaw to Madrid. Very interesting. Yeah, so this came out, and of course, I'm talking about people on Twitter. I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about it IRL. A bunch of people took this a lot of different ways. I'm seeing defense of it now, but on initial release of this information, a lot of people seemed surprisingly upset, in my opinion. It's kind of weird to see that this game takes that long to play through. I saw a bunch of people saying that they weren't going to buy the game now based off of that. And I think there's a couple things to take from that. I think the biggest thing to take from it is something that I also kind of understand is game fatigue, in the sense of putting too much time into one game. Of course, if you play a JRPG, you expect to be sitting there for a while and playing that game. They're designed for that, obviously, but with recent releases from Ubisoft and other companies trying to inflate their games and make you stay in their game longer with cookie cutter content that doesn't really do much in terms of enhancing gameplay, people do feel like there is such thing as too much content in a game. I know I felt that in the last couple Assassin's Creed games. So yeah, I think to kind of understand where people are coming from, they're looking at it in that regard. They're looking at it as like, is this like a inflated game? Is this something that's going to take me so long to beat? Is it going to be a campaign that is not going to mean a whole lot through a lot of it? Is it just filler? Well, based off of quite a bit of feedback, I would say they got, they released another tweet saying, we wanted to clarify our recent communication about the amount of hours required to complete the game. Dying Light 2 Stay Human is designed for players with different gameplay styles and preferences to explore the world how they see fit. In their new infographic, they have something that says 20 hours time needed to complete the main story. Now, this is standard for a lot of games. A lot of games are about 20 hours, typically 12 to 16 hours, it seems, but a 20-hour game's not rare. Then they go on to say 80 hours time needed to finish the main story and all the side quests. So you can beeline the story in 20 hours. You can do the story and the side quests 80 hours. That's actually quite a bit of side quests if you're adding on that much time just doing the side quests. Then they clarify and say 500 hours time needed to max out the game with all main and side quest choices and endings, checking every place on the map, every dialogue, and finding every collectible. So admittedly, something I feel like they didn't communicate well enough is that their game's full of a lot of shit to do. That's all they had to say. There's over 500 hours of content available in the game. And I think they banked on the idea that people were just going to be excited about being able to put that much time into a game. I don't think they thought about how people would interpret how that 500 hours was going to be spent. Some people might have thought that is, like I said before, filler, overstuffed with content that doesn't matter, things that people are not going to care about much, a lot of side quests that don't really mean anything to people. And so I think there's just kind of a loss in translation there, which is very interesting to watch. I think there's an overall conversation that's kind of interesting to have. I kind of wanted to have it with another person on the show, so maybe I'll bring it back up on Tastecast. What is too long in a game? What is too short in a game? For the longest time, I heard people talking about how games are too short. Games are too short. Games are too short. I hate how short games are. A campaign comes out at 6 hours, which is very short. For me, not so bad. I got a lot of games I want to play. So if I can get 6 hours out of a game and be complete with it, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Not every game I want that to happen, but some games I appreciate it. Even 12 hours, people are like, this is too short. Sometimes 16, 18 hours. This game's too short. And then you get to the excess of 500 hours. And I remember when I was younger, that was celebrated. People were like, dude, that's a big game. It's a lot of stuff to do. I buy one game. I got a lot of things to do. I never have to leave this game. And now this happens and people are upset about it. Some people, not everybody, of course. And this is only the reception I've seen on Twitter, of course. It's not the same as real life, although it seems to be similar in a lot of ways sometimes. And yeah, it's just an interesting discussion of what is a good amount of time. And of course, I think it's contextual in the sense of like what kind of game you're playing. You could play a fighting game for hundreds of hours. That's not, you have to play it for that many hours. You've put that time into it. An MMO, you're most likely going to put hundreds of hours into. A game like Deep Rock Galactic that we'll be talking about later this month. I was about to reveal too much on that. Everybody knows my opinion on it. You can put hundreds of hours into that easily. But then a game that's like a story-driven game, you play a JRPG, people celebrate a 40-hour JRPG, 60-hour, 80-hour. Oh, this is 120 hours. They don't make them like they used to. This one's like that. People are excited for it. So it's really interesting. For me personally, I think a good amount of it's all about how much time are you needing from me. If your game's amazing, I'm not going to fucking ask questions. I'm not going to care about the time investment. If it's so good, I don't care. That's great. Outside of that, though, if you're going, okay, here's the game, I want you to buy it from me. This is how much time it takes to beat it. Some games, I'm going to go, I don't know if I want to invest 40 hours into that. Sometimes I want like a short game. Sometimes I want something that's like 12 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours. I think that's actually reasonable. Most games I'll look at and I'll go to how long does it take to beat.com or the fuck it is. And they'll say on average, people take like 17 hours to beat this. I'm like, okay, I'll put the time in to beat that. If it's a JRPG, I'm like, is it going to be 40 hours, 60 hours? And I'll look it up. And typically nowadays it's like 20 to 40 hours. But that's reasonable to me. But if it's a game that like I have low hype on and it's going to take a long time to beat, I might not even invest the time. So after playing Assassin's Creed, Odyssey, and oh god, I can't believe I can't remember the other name. Origins. After playing those, they felt inflated. They felt huge for huge sake, but not in an inspired way. And so by the time Valhalla came out, I've heard nothing but good things about it. I looked at how long it took to finish that game, and I went, I don't know if I want to invest that time again. The game's fun, but I'd like to just fucking play the story and get it done with. And in a game like that, it wants you to deviate. It wants you to spend more time in it. They don't want you playing other games. They want you to play their game. That goes into the core development of the game. And it almost feels, I don't want to be extreme about it, but almost feels slightly insulting to my time. It doesn't respect my time. And so, yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into how long games should be. I think, like I said before, in the teens and 20s, I think is responsible. I think you get a lot out of that. I think fucking Last of Us Part 2 is like 20-something hours. It's quite a bit of time for a game that's like on a Naughty Dog level. And that almost started feeling long, even though that was a good game. So it's interesting. It's interesting. In a game like Dying Light 2, though, bringing it back home real quick, I'm impressed, honestly, that the campaign story is 20 hours long. That seems responsible. It also seems like plenty of stuff to do. 80 hours to do all the side quests. I'm not going to do all the side quests. I'm going to be honest with you right now. It's not going to happen. But will I spend 80 hours in the game? Maybe, especially because it's a multiplayer game, especially because it has loot. It has over 500 pieces of loot, apparently, of gear in the game. I mean, that sounds like a game I could play. It's a first-person game. It's action-based. It's parkour. It's gear-based, leveling. I can see myself playing this quite a bit. So in the grand scheme of it, 20 hours seems like something I could easily do with this game, and 80 hours seems like something that definitely could happen if I'm enjoying it enough, unless it turns into like a Borderlands 3 situation where I just kind of drop off out of it. 500 hours, I must be really loving it if I get to that point, but I don't see that happening. But I don't feel inclined to have to play for 500 hours, and I don't feel like that should be a deterrent for me to not want to pick it up. Especially if you're already hyped for it. It seems interesting to be like, I'm not going to pick that up. But anyway, they clarified it. It's 20 hours for the campaign, which is, I think, more than reasonable. But overall, it's just an interesting topic. It's an interesting thing to think about when it comes to what we expect from games, what we don't want, and what we want. What is too short of a game and what is too long of a game. It seems to be some pretty big deciding factors in purchasing a game, which makes sense. But it's just been interesting to see how that has changed over the years. So yeah, I will definitely be picking up Dying Light 2, though. I've been very excited for it. It comes out February 4th, I think. I can't wait to play it. I'm like really excited. It's one of my most hyped games for 2022. And there's a lot of them this year. There's a lot of games coming out this year that I'm very excited for. This is one of them. It's going to be a blast, I hope. Gameplay looks great. Multiplayer, all that stuff, I already went over it. It's looking awesome, and maybe I'll spend 500 hours into it or in it. I don't know. They really supported the first Dying Light, so it sounds like they're going all out with this one. And yeah, comes out soon. Really excited, and yeah, not deterred by the time. But let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about the hours involved to do all the things in this game? What do you think about the initial response? Would that have deterred you from picking it up if they were just like vaguely 500 hours to beat the game? Would you not have picked up the game for that reason? And now knowing how much hours it actually takes to beat the campaign, do the side quests, and do everything in the game, what do you think about that? What is too much time to invest in a game? What would deter you from playing it, knowing that you're going to have to put this much time into it? Would it not affect you? What's too short? Is there an amount of hours that you're like, that's not much game? Does price point matter? Of course it does. But, let me know what you think about that. And are you excited for Dying Light 2? Let me know everything you're thinking about in the comments below. Thanks for watching. That's going to do it for this episode. And make sure to go check out my Armored Core 6 leaks episode. I talked about details and screenshots. We go through all of it there. So if you want to get filled in or you want to hear my opinion on that, maybe check that out. And we have a Tasty Cast coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Typical long form discussion like we normally do. But I am going to try and start doing more shorter videos like this because I miss doing them. So yeah, but thanks for watching and stay tuned. Tastecast coming up very soon. Until then, have a good one, guys, and take it easy.